excited that I have Mr. Matthew on the call. Having gone through his background, I have some questions that are kind of phased, but I'll begin with this one. So I run an agency called RIQ Technologies. So we have a product called Patricia AI. So just like from yesterday's session where we learned about design thinking, and then iteration as one of the elements within design thinking. My question is specifically going to us in the tech space, because, for example, Patricia AI was initially running on WhatsApp, and then we noticed that we are going to have challenges in jurisdictions where governments choose to block WhatsApp. And of course, the services that are running on WhatsApp for Patricia AI are, of course, shopping, utility bill payment, um, plus quite some others. But so now the reason why we're pushed into this iteration is the fact that we noticed that some governments just wake up one day and say WhatsApp is no more. So if we have clients who have paid premiums to have solutions running on WhatsApp, and then the following morning they can't do anything, what should be the end game there? So we decided to basically come up with apps, and we are basically replicating what we've been doing over WhatsApp, but now this time around running on independent applications for Android, iOS, Android TV. Even we are going to Android Auto for your cars. But my question is, from your experience, Mr. Matthew, iterations are a key element when it comes to design thinking, because you always keep picking feedback from your sample space and your test users. Um, to some extent, being a software engineer, we kind of suffer from burnouts, sometimes failing on deadlines because you need to achieve a certain change request. From your experience, have you heard about situations where an idea, a business concept has failed to move out of the iterative stage? It is it comes with some pain points, because prior to this iteration, we have set goals, and then we have a market that is ready, but then because you need to adapt the new change requests, you find yourself staying longer achieving those. Would that be a risk?
So usually when looking at it, actual iterations, right? Especially within from a design perspective. So you can iterate on different things. You can iterate on the core product, and you can also iterate on the business model, but you can also iterate on the distribution. So you are doing an iteration on your distribution model, which was initially it was to be distributed via WhatsApp, and then you are now distributing via apps. But one of the things I would say to you is, who is driving the iteration? So that would be the question that I would ask. So majority of the times when looking at iterations within, whether it's a business model or it's product iteration or it's a distribution iteration, right? It's always usually driven by a specific insight. You gave me the insight that you shared was there's a risk of shutdowns, internet shutdowns that would stop people from accessing this particular product. It's a risk, yes, but are you not ending up creating additional burden within your product that kind of, in a way, puts you in that dilemma that you are in, where you are now stuck in iterations by making the decision to change your distribution model? So, a key insight there I would share is that sometimes with iterations, you might end up getting, yes, a product that is on paper better, but is no longer commercially viable. And I'll give you this case. So if you are building an app for each individual client, you're now bringing in customizations, you're bringing in all of these things. These things affect your ability to move fast because you're now are no longer using an existing distribution platform, but you're having to build a new platform. So a customer, for example, if I'm going now to say to a customer that in order for the people you are looking to serve to access this, they must download it. So I need, as a customer, I need to promote this product. I need to promote people accessing it or downloading the app and then also promote them to use it. It actually ends up being a little bit more complicated. This is just me speaking from a distribution perspective. But yeah, there are risks in spending too much time in iteration. But one of the best ways to, know what you're focused on is, are you actually solving a problem with the iteration, and how serious is that problem? I'll share with you a framework. It's called the Kano model. And usually what it's usually used to do is to um, validate uh, a product against your competitors, right? But you can also use the Kano model to validate customer satisfaction within the product. So within your own um, product, you must be looking at what they would call must-haves, and then what they are things that are called delighters, and then things that are sort of performance improvements. Your delighters are the ones that give customers they're 10% of your product, but they deliver 90% of the joy. Performance is basically, if you think about something like Instagram, how they used to catchy images so that when you're scrolling, you never have to wait for images to download. It seems like such a very small thing right now, but that was a delighter for customers. It was a performance enhancement that helped. And then there are must-haves on the Kano model. These are features or capabilities that um, customers must have. So in your iteration from this particular product, is an app a must-have, or it's a delighter, or it's a performance, or it's table stakes, which is that without this we can't really operate. So that's a model you can actually use within your iteration as you get all these insights, be able to map it across that particular framework. It's a product management framework that you can use to now actually say, this feature that we are going to build, does it actually matter for our customers? And if it does, where does it sit within that particular model? And should we be adding or iterating or spending cycle times or even development times for this particular feature? So using that as a step to validate that within your customers would be very, very helpful, and could help you with preventing yourself being stuck in iteration and shipping, knowing that what you're shipping is what are the core master features, some delighters, and some performance features, and then going back and saying, okay, what do they have? But when you sometimes assume that what you're iterating on is a must have requirement for all your customers, you can end up having spending so much time in iteration because everything becomes a must-have for customers if you don't ship the product for people to actually use. So that's how I would approach it. Um, that's been sort of my experience in that. I can always share the Kano model and some of the frameworks from a product management perspective that I think might be helpful.
Thank you so much. Again, on the Kano model you've just mentioned, you mentioned something quite interesting. The fact that you can basically compare with your competitors. Okay, look at what your competitors doing, and then you focus on your product. There's also this. I don't know whether it's a challenge or an opportunity, but it's all in one anyway. The product that I'm trying to come up with, I have not seen any competitor yet. We are basically using AI to do things that have not yet done before, at least from the little research that we've done. So again, now it goes back to what you've just said. What are the delighters in this? Yeah, and all that. I think I'm looking forward to having an extended discussion in this line further. That's it for now. I'll come through later.
I will challenge you with one thing.
Okay.
In all my years in product marketing, the one thing that I've always been taught in product marketing in technology companies is that every product, no matter how innovative it is, has a competitor. The question isn't what product are you, there isn't anything exactly like this in the market. That's not the challenge. The challenge is there another way that customers would solve this problem if my product didn't exist? It's a very powerful question. So if you think about it, an example is an accounting software. It looks as if it's a very important thing, but there are people that do all their accounting in an Excel spreadsheet. So your competitor
Yeah.
isn't necessarily another accounting software. Your core competitor is Excel. So you build from there, knowing that that is your
Sorry,
baseline. That's what.
sorry, I don't seem to get you clearly.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can hear me now. Hello, can you hear me?
I think Patrick is having a network issue.
I will share the insights for everybody else so that they have it and I know there's the recording. But basically, every particular product you put out into the market has a competitor. And that competitor um, is the most basic thing that people would use if they were not using your product. You might think that KFC competes with Hungry Lion. No, KFC competes with your wife's fried chicken at home if you are married, or your own fried chicken. It's just that at the end of the day, that's the most basic thing that people are competing with. And there will be layers of product performance, capabilities, and features that start giving distance between the most basic way of solving your problem to an extended way of solving a problem. You can use that as a framing to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that space if you are developing a product. Another way of developing the same product is a process called jobs to be done analysis, which is where you say if the customer, what the job is the customer hiring this particular product to do. So majority of people think as we were giving an example, you would say, oh, but they are all software tools, right? But that person could be hiring a person to do that. He can go and say, I don't really care about the product. All I want is my books done accurately and on time. So that's what he's hiring the software to do. So that's the job to be done. The competitor could be whatever other product that they could use, and they have varying levels of satisfaction, right? So when we now then go into the second phase, which when we're thinking about this is what is the things that they care about when making a decision or giving a reason to buy this particular product. So I'm choosing product X because it's cheaper. So then price becomes the driving factor, one of the major driving factors for making this product. So I would choose Excel versus QuickBooks because I've got Excel free. So price becomes a factor in the decision making to purchasing a particular product or making a particular purchase decision. I won't go too much into this because I think it's a lot because it's a whole entire session. But using jobs to be done in something like the asking your question of like who is the competitor for this product is just an unlock for a lot of people. Famously, I don't know if I should give the example, but Clayton Christensen used to ask people, McDonald's had a very interesting interesting thing that was happening at their shops was that they were always having a large number of milkshakes being bought in the morning, very early in the morning, like the time people are going to work. And it would be through summer and through winter. And they could never understand what was going on. And their positioning of the product was very much towards how people position milkshake, a nice drink for people on the looking for a treat, and all of that is like a dessert. That was the positioning. And what they found out was the people that were buying the milkshake in the morning were people that were actually going to work, and they were taking the milkshake because it was a quick bit of sugar, nutrition, something in their stomach, and it wouldn't. They could finish it on their way because of long commutes in the US. And McDonald's ended up making a different pivot to increase their sales of milkshakes and to better serve that particular job to be done. They started adding fruit, extra protein, all of these things, all these are enhancements that they made to the milkshake in their stores in order for them to respond to a job to be done that was being high, that people were hiring the milkshake to do, which is I want a quick meal on my way to work, but I don't want it to be too big. I don't have enough time to sit in the restaurant, grab a sandwich. I want something that I can drink with one hand while I'm driving on the freeway. So all of those set of insights can actually help you with your product, even your service, even small little things. Where I'll give an example is like something I found out yesterday, which shocked me. There is a lodge in Uganda, a tourist lodge, that charges 1,400 all in US dollars per night. And if you are sharing, it charges 2,100 US dollars per night. That lodge is not, you know, serving a job to be done, which is I want, just a place to go on holiday. That that positioning, that messaging, all the customers that they are looking for is for people that want a very specific experience. And that lodge is doing very, very well for $2,100 per night, sharing all inclusive in Uganda. So that for me was an eye opener. But it's just to stress the point that the jobs to be done for a particular product or what people hire product for are very important in your assessment, in your iterations, in all of this. I will end there.
Wow, thank you very much, Matthew, for those wonderful insights. I know the question came from a technology or ICT perspective, but I trust that even us who are dealing in craft, who are dealing in food and beverages, who are dealing in law. I have my sister here, Tendo. I've told her Tendo is a lawyer. He finished her bar course, but I've told her that by the end of this boot camp, I want her to think of how can she create a sustainable business in law. You know, I told her, don't think of going to work for people. Think of how you can create. Yes, Matthew.
I was gonna wait for you to finish, but I was like, if I don't say it now, I might forget it. Over LinkedIn and one of the networks, there's a young lady in the United States. She's a lawyer. She runs a law firm. She only does one thing. She doesn't do criminal law. She doesn't do real estate law. She doesn't do any of that. She does one thing. She does copyright law. And she's an expert at copyright law. But not just any old copyright law. She is an expert at registering your products for copyright protection. So if you have a brand name, if you have a song, if you have a video, if you have whatever content that you put out there and you want to copyright it in the United States, she's an expert at that. And to say this story a little bit because it resonated with me, was that all her work is in educating customers and people about how she gets most of her business is teaching people the importance of copyright. And she gave a very interesting example. The person who there's a photo that was taken of Muhammad Ali. It's used by a lot of businesses. The photographer who took the photo, he's got a natural copyright to it. But because he didn't submit the other photos for patent with the US Patent Office, they can't enforce copyright. Although it's his work and it's his content that people are using, he can't enforce copyright. Enforcing copyright means I force you to pay if you use my product or the work that I've done. I force you to pay legally. You have to pay me for using my original work. And she was giving an example of how this guy lost out on $30 million US because he didn't copyright his work. All this to say, even for lawyers in the service business, understanding jobs to be done, understanding who you want to serve, what customer you want to serve, developing a niche for your product, finding people that are not served well by existing solutions can be an amazing business. And it's not just always the same thing, don't doing the exact same thing that everybody else is doing, but there's a massive opportunity for that. But anyway, enough stories from me. Now I will just answer questions from now on.
No, I think this is getting more better and better. So I was speaking about my sister Tendo Miriam, who is on the call right now. The reason why I've talked to her like that, I will first share this before I get into welcoming more questions. My company, I had tried to register, but if you don't know something and you jump into it, you'll have a lot of I don't know if I should call them hiccups or for lack of better words. So I would register, reach somewhere, things weren't going well. So one, I'd registered, I hadn't filed my annual returns. Here I am, I need a bank account. And this is one lady that I sat with just one day, and I was able to be sorted out. And my company got an account, and now my company can transact with other companies. So I looked at her and I saw this in her, and I told her, this thing of you saying you're going to bench at people's offices and work and get very minute pays, you can utilize that brain of yours and make money. I have a friend, he spent a lot of time without doing those annual returns. When he came back, he has spent like over how many months trying to see that the company gets back into the normal way of doing things. So anyways, that is for my sister Tendo. And I told you that when we end this, she told me she doesn't have a business, blah, blah, blah. I told her when we end this, you must be the one that starts a business and let it work and you make money. Anyways, and help people with the issues like me. You see, you helped me. I was having a very hard time, by the way. But from there, I was able to be helped. And I felt so happy to see that I give you money because you had solved my problem. So Patrick asks in line of technology, but you can translate this even in your own other products that you do. You do craft. I know very many of us on the call, we do craft. You do agribusiness. Joel Tendo, I saw your business is looking, I think, into herbs. How unique, because I've seen there are a lot of herbs that are produced. What are you bringing that is new on the market? And Matthew has put it very well. Don't think that you don't have a competitor, but you must think around that. And what Francis posted well is that a product that can act as a substitute product or service is a competitor to your product. So that was a good question, Patrick. And I wanted to ask Matthew, if I have a company or I have a business and I'm thinking of iterating or I'm thinking of doing something like design thinking in it, what are some of the key things that I should put at that I should put on the top list before I jump into this process? If I have a business, let's say I have my ICT and multimedia company business, and I want to see that I jump into it and do design thinking, what are some of those key things that I put up on the list before I get into this process?
That's a tough one. But I will start maybe where the important place to start. First thing is actually, why do you want to use design thinking? I know it sounds like a very bad thing, but why do you want to use design thinking? What problem are you trying to solve? Do you have a revenue problem? Do you have a customer problem? Do you have a business model problem? What is the problem, right? So when you're using design thinking, you should have a problem. And majority of the times, even when using design thinking within a corporate environment, one of the hardest things to do is actually identifying the problem. And identifying the problem means being able to articulate it and give it a number. One of the things that I used to do a lot when I was at Facebook, that even people that were not commercial people, I used to say you have to be able to put a dollar value to the problem that you are experiencing. Just because everybody respects, at least, once you put a dollar value, becomes it becomes pertinent. So let's say, for example, you come up, your problem is a customer problem, and you say, on average, customers pay us $5 per day for XYZ product. Our current problem is that 85% of customers that buy X product from us do not return. This problem is costing us X, Y, Z dollars a year, and that becomes the problem you want to solve. So in there, you are saying, okay, customer retention is a problem, or customer loyalty is a problem. And then from a design thinking perspective, you are then saying, okay, how am I going to iterate? The second step is identifying your source of insight. Majority of people think design thinking is just, you're just going to iterate from nowhere. You have to iterate based upon an insight. And that might mean talking to a customer, talking to a supplier, talking to, people on the street that might not even know anything about it, talking to potential customers even, and being able to get a lot of insight. It doesn't take a lot of insight to make a decision when it comes to iteration. But what I would recommend is maybe 4 to 5 people that you've spoken to. That, number one, confirm that there is indeed a problem. And number two, can be able to give you an insight into what the problem is. And then number three is then actually implementing the solution. And then 4 is going back to testing that particular solution. So a clearly defined problem, an insight from customer interviews are the very basic things that I would look at. And then number 3 is a plan to test, and then a learning plan, which then says you're now sitting back and saying, okay, I'm going to test this new approach, which is I'm going to SMS every customer 2 weeks after they've purchased the product, and ask for feedback. Or I'm going to text the customer and remind them to purchase the product, XYZ product, after 2 weeks, and see if they are going to come back in week 3 to purchase the product. There's a lot there that you can be able to use, but I think those are the things that I would say are the bare minimum that you need to start in order for you to apply design thinking in your business. Is a well-articulated problem and an insight based from customers or people that you are looking to speak to, as being at the core of it.
Wow, thank you very much. I think that one is very, very clear and very well articulated there. CEOs on the call, do we have another question? Today is just a Q&A session. Ask questions regarding the topics that we've just covered. You could ask a question about the program, because also it's also a good thing to know, to be in the know of how the program is running. And then we are going to be able to conclude this session. And then we hope that tomorrow we shall be able to do something sort of a brainstorming. I am going to share on how we are going to do it, so that we can be able to get into Friday. Friday is going to be us to start on our plans. If you already have a plan, it's a good thing that we look at it and we see how best you can make it better, or if it goes like that, that is also okay. Now, to add on, as you think of your questions to ask, Matthew gave me a link. I think I request Mrs. Bato, you remind me, or Josh, if you're on the call, I'll be able to share that link on the bootcamp group. Now that link is for you to book a one-on-one with him, and you discuss in depth about your business, specifically your business. You discuss with him. He has freely given in time, as long as you go through the calendar and you're able to book time with him and he prepares, so that you discuss in depth on how he can be able to help you, make your business better. You see that discussion that he was having here with Patrick. I know they could extend it more, and Patrick, I believe you could get more insights from those discussions. So I'll be able to share that link. Matthew, I hope it doesn't expire. The one you sent me, I hope it has no expiry date.
Yeah, I'll check and make sure, and I'll send you a new one if I need to.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So I will share that link for the CEOs on the bootcamp group. You'll be able to use it to book time with Matthew, and you'll be able to discuss particularly your business, and you could be able to get more insights on how you can better your business. Margaret, would you want to say hello to us if you're in position? Okay. Mrs. Bato, do you have any question? Please go ahead. I don't know why I called you and even your hand was already up. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. So, Mrs. Beto, and the business that we do, we make crochet dolls and crochet scarves and neck warmers. So we've been, the scarves, we started them in 2018, and we registered the business formally in 2021. So I realized that the scarves we've been like selling to individuals, and like they've been accepted well locally. So for the dolls, we started in 2020, and right now that like internationally, the dolls are doing better than the scarves. So the challenge that we had is I think systems, I would say, being able to juggle different things as the business is growing, because me as an individual, I am naturally a technical person, if I would say it that way. Like what comes easily for me is creating those dolls. And however, I find myself at some point, like Mr. Masambu mentioned, when it's time to file your returns and you're late because you are busy working on an order and you missed deadlines, and then or it like even like recording, like the bookkeeping, those are things that are not naturally something that I love to do. And then also like managing people. There's a time we had a big order and we had to work with 25 people, and at the end of the day, like we found that we didn't exactly make losses, but then we spent a lot of money managing the growth. And I realized that many times we have had to, like, we be as though we're going to grow, and then we reach a certain part and we cannot handle the growth and we have to downsize again. And so in that bit of like reiterating, we've done it with the necomers. We've like discontinued some necomers, and we're focusing on what the best sellers are. And for the dolls, we are thinking, actually, if we looked at what were the best sellers, and we are now thinking of now focusing on just those, and producing and trying to get also other clients. However, what I wanted to ask is, how do you keep focused, because when I look at what the bestsellers were, this is what was the original plan, which is to make dolls that look like a typical African child, like different skin shades, like there's a brown doll, there's the lighter doll, and then to have a story around it. So along the way, people keep giving us different dolls that they want us to make. Maybe cartoon characters, Bluey, Spider-Man, and I feel like they take us away from what the original plan was. And even when we have sold well in a particular area, it still comes down to the dolls that look like what was our original plan are what are the best sellers. So my question is, what do you do to be able to stick to what the original plan is, also while being able to earn money? Because these special characters, I would call them, are actually making us like money to run the business. But at the end of the day, what was the original plan is what, I don't know if I'm even making sense, but I feel like the different individual requests are drawing us away from the initial vision, yet we need the money, and yet like how do you control the I hope, Matthew, you're understanding where my question is going. Like at what point do you draw the line beyond which like clients will not like control so much what you do? Because at the end of the day, I feel like the whole thing changes completely. And I don't know, is it okay for your business to start out a certain way and then completely turn to something else? Like, where do you draw the line between the vision and the reiterating, so that you don't entirely have a different product altogether? Or is that even okay to have a different product altogether? And then also, like, how do you put in place systems to facilitate growth? And like, where does the startup start from? Like, who do you hire first? What do you put in place first that can be affordable if you're not able to hire all the different professionals? Like, where do you start? I think some of the questions probably would be better asked on a one-on-one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I will start
generally.
with one of the biggest question, and I'm going to say this for every business here. I want you to know this. It is very much okay for your business to not be for everyone. So
I like that actually. It's not for
the,
everyone.
and it's okay. It's very okay for your business not to be for everyone. The question that you now have is that if my business is not for everyone, how do I make sure that the people that I am for give me enough money and income that I don't have to do business with the people that I'm not for? That is the question. That's like the ultimate question. The one thing I would say to you is, here are some of the challenges I would see, because I know I heard a little bit about your business model. You said you want to do dolls that look like people, like, like us, like African people with the skin tones and everything. And that's a brilliant idea. The challenge that you will have is that as you were saying, that you in the international market, that is where you see a lot of your business going. How do you then capture more of the international market and less of the current market? So that's a go-to-market question. You can put it in one box and say, how do I capture this particular market and grow my market share enough to support my business? The challenges that I think you also have, which is a very common thing when working in sort of your business, which is sometimes cyclical, is you don't have a very good handle of all your costs, right? If you were a straight manufacturing business, right, you would have to say, I'm having $50, I'm making $50 a month, it costs me this much. I need to get or control my expenses and make sure that these $50 cover my expenses plus profit, everything else. But because you also have a lot of custom doors now that are not part of your initial expense model, you end up with, going everywhere and you have to do custom pricing. Sometimes you make money, sometimes you don't, sometimes you just break even. The question is actually, if you were to take your business, your original business, and you just focus on that business model, what would have to change in your business in order for you to capture that particular model and make it work the way that you envisioned it from day one? Because some of the challenges that you are seeing with going and expanding are more to do with the fact that you are trying to solve a revenue problem by product expansion as opposed to solving a revenue problem by continuing and iterating within your business, which is what a lot of founders do, which is as the business is, starts to receive some of these challenges commercially, you then say, okay, I'm going to also start adding this. If you ever seen a takeaway that by the end of the year starts looking like a grocery store, that's sort of how you end up with that kind of a business where you are not getting enough traction within the area that you selected, within the customer base that you are looking at, that you start shifting into other areas in order to compensate for challenges within your core business. My suggestion is double down on the core business. And I would tell you these three very simple things. Because I was looking and thinking about your business the other day. So, and then my previous experience at doing it. Number one, how do you make your product more premium? Because if you're going to go specifically and focus on your international market, how do you make your product more premium? So that's number one. Number two, how do you get your product distributed into these areas? Fantastic insight that you can actually catch on to right now. There's a lot of African people, Black Americans, that are moving back to the continent or traveling more to the continent of Africa because they are looking to connect with, their ancestral homes, places where they were taken as they were slaves. So how do you appeal to that market? How do you get yourself into that market? And number three is how do you improve and iterate on your packaging, your design to get to that particular level? So all of those three questions are things that you can iterate on. And I will tell you that they have a lot more runway and they are going to do a lot more for your business because then what it does, it gives you a product that is in a model and a distribution model, a marketing model that you can tweak around instead of now trying to simulate your business with custom orders and things like that. The one insight I'll share because it's almost time, and I know Emma, we've got to go, is that as you're looking at your business, you can look at changing one or two things, which is to say, if I need $50 to break even, what if I'm not contracting, right? Which means I'm now taking these particular women as employees. What are my fixed costs and all of that? So those kind of things start becoming things you can start considering, start thinking about. Another thing is also looking at social impact. So if you're looking at funding and social impact and all of that, that could be a very interesting thing, is helping women either from disadvantaged backgrounds, women who are single mothers, whatever it is, the particular social problem that you're looking at, and saying that your business only employs this group of women, you can actually unlock funding to make your business more sustainable until grant funding for your business now to become sustainable and to grow over time. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it's something we can definitely discuss again and on a one-to-one. But for everybody, is like, as I said, your business doesn't have to be for everyone, and it's okay. Where you are having now to play around with um, is if your business is not for everyone, how do you make sure that the people that your business is for give you the revenue and the returns that you are looking for as a business owner? And that's where you iterate, and then that's where you get an additional product that you are adding onto that. So for example, adding safari animals, for example, onto your product line, because that's more controlled. You're not doing cartoon characters, but that's more controlled and you can scale that business over time. So all of those little things are little tweaks. And as I was saying, then expanding to everyone, look at expanding your product line, but get your core product first, get your costs for that single product line very well, get that, optimize that business, and then look at expanding. Custom businesses are usually very tricky because it becomes sort of, I'd say it doesn't give you a lot of leverage and doesn't give you the ability to grow a repeatable business over time because scale is very hard when trying to do a custom business. But those are my thoughts. And yeah, I don't know anyone else. Emma, do you want to close? If anyone has got any final feedback, because I
No,
need
no,
to jump for another call.
not really close, but add something on that. You see, the business that I'm doing, it has a lot of, it seems to be so broad. And actually, this reminds me of something that I did, and I felt like, I think this is okay. There is a bit of photography in my business, but I'm not so skilled at it. And at the moment, if I jump into it, I'm going to incur a higher cost of doing it. So I realized this is what I told myself. I think let me first leave the business of photography within my business, so that, because right now I don't have the capacity to do it, it means if I'm going to do photography, I will have to hire the photographer, hire the equipment for photography, and the client is not going to pay me what is going to go into it. So, but ideally, the client at one point can pay me like what exactly fits in producing, but then I end up not having any profit margin off. So I decided to say, yes, I think let me first put photograph aside. I'll not be doing it. But the skills I have, like I kind of like relate with what Naomi was talking about. Naomi, I know you can do those character kind of dolls, but I think I don't know if you feel the same way like me. To have a conversation on Patricia. Okay. I don't know if you feel like me that when I engage on photography, I don't make any margin. One. Two, I invest a lot and I end up like the thing just ends up like that. Yes, I can do it, but it's not giving me a return properly. So I decided to say, let me leave that. And I think I agree with what Matthew has said. Sometimes you might not be for everybody. So I don't know if that works for other people, but I think for me, I agree with that. And I realized that the business that I leverage on so much is building software. I will build a software and the return will be so good. And I don't build softwares like day in, day out, but when I get a project and I'm working on it, the returns are good and they're able to run the company or the business, and I'm able to move on. And I think it even cuts the stress off my back. At one point, I feel like in business, if you engage into some other things, you end up having a lot of stress and your deliverability will be not very good. And I think that's where we even end up not doing some tasks that advance the business, like I mentioned, things to do with filing returns, revenue, all those things. We end up putting much time on the other side, and then this side we end up not balancing it, and you find that the business it gives you that feeling, Mrs. Battle, where you feel like you have reached a point where you're retired, you're not moving.